Madam President, I rise today to speak about the bill we're considering, but also to speak in particular about one aspect of the bill. We know the legislation as the so-called WRDA bill, the Water Resources Development Act, and I want to express strong support for the legislation. This bill is in fact bipartisan, which is something we need more of around here. It provides for, among other things, flood protection, safe drinking water, wastewater infrastructure, and protects the flow of commerce along our nation's rivers and waterways. I'm grateful for Chairman Boxer's efforts, Ranking Member Vitter, and all the members and staff of the Environment and Public Works Committee for their dedication to writing a bill that addresses the challenges facing our country's water systems. I wanted to speak in particular about inland waterways. Our nation has for many, many years now, many generations, a system of locks and dams that play a vital role in creating and sustaining jobs and supporting economic growth throughout the country. I know in my home state of Pennsylvania, even though I had been a state official for a number of years, I didn't have a full appreciation for what this meant until about July of, I guess it was the first week of July of 2007, when I was able to tour and actually see these major barges up close out in southwestern Pennsylvania. And to be able to see how the movement of coal or other commodities or energy sources across our waterways, what that meant to the economy of southwestern Pennsylvania, but indeed the economy of our Commonwealth and our country. So when we hear the phrase locks and dams in Pennsylvania, and especially in southwestern Pennsylvania, we don't think of some far-off concept. We think of commerce and the movement of commerce and the jobs and the economic growth that comes from that. Unfortunately, this system, this inland waterway system, is facing major challenges that threaten in ways that some of us couldn't imagine even a few years ago. The inland waterway system offers the most cost-competitive way to transport new commodities. It moves some 20% of the coal that is used to power our nation's electricity, much of it from Pennsylvania, also 22% of our petroleum products, and more than 60% of export grain that's moved because of this system. The shippers who produce or manufacture these commodities are in danger of losing their competitive edge unless we focus on proper funding for the lock and dam infrastructure. Unfortunately, the locks and dams of our nation have far outlived their design life. There hasn't been sufficient investment to make headway in replacing these locks and dams, but I'm hopeful that provisions that I and others have worked on in the Water Resources Development Act that we're considering now will address the challenges facing this system. Provisions from my bill, which by the way goes by the acronym RIVER, the River Act, that are included in the bill we're considering, will institute a number of project management reforms that will make future lock and dam projects make sure that they're built in the most cost-effective way possible. We can't ask for greater commitment to the system or greater investment without making sure that we're also providing reforms. These reforms include risk-based cost estimates and an external peer review process for Army Corps projects across the nation. This will help ensure that locks and dams and the projects that are undertaken are constructed in the way that is most efficient, and we also want to make sure that we have cost estimates that are realistic and, of course, avoid cost overruns. One of the provisions of the bill will also adjust the current cost-sharing system by increasing the threshold for the industry to contribute to major rehabilitation projects to $20 million. This will allow for more funding for lock and dam projects, which is badly needed right now. These provisions in the overall Water Resources Bill are common sense. They also happen to be fiscally responsible proposals that will significantly improve our nation's inland waterway system and to help ensure our nation's waterways can continue to be an effective method to ship commodities. Well, how do we pay for that? Well, rather interesting development for Washington, about which I'm about to describe for you. I'm grateful that so many of the provisions in my bill have been included, but we also need to have an important conversation about how to finance this system and to keep the inland waterways, or I should say the Inland Trust Fund, sustainable in the long term. I filed an amendment number 854, that will raise the barge user fee from 20 cents per gallon to 29 cents per gallon. This fee has not been raised since 1986, and as a result is not keeping up with inflation and project costs. We have great bipartisan support for this. Senator Alexander is leading this effort with me, and the amendment is co-sponsored by the following senators: Senator Blunt, Senator McCaskill, Senator Durbin, Senator Stabenow, Senator Klobuchar, Senator Landrieu, Senator Franken, and Senator Harkin, indicating the wide reach of the inland waterway system and its impact on so many industries in so many states across the country. The current rate, the barge fee of 20 cents per gallon, right now is not raising sufficient funding to keep up with operations and maintenance needs along the reach of the system. If we don't make this investment now, it could have dire consequences to multi-billion-dollar industries that rely on the use of locks and dams to move their goods. Just consider coal being one of those examples. All 300 users of the inland waterway system support this increase. Let me say that again, because it just doesn't happen very much in Washington. All 300 users of the inland waterway system support this increase from 20 cents per gallon of a barge fee to 29 cents. And here we have an example of an industry that is forward-looking and asking Congress to allow them to pay more in order to make critical investments in their own infrastructure. In addition to the support of industry, the user fee increase is backed by a diverse array of organizations across the country, including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Farmers Union, the National Association of Manufacturers, the American Farm Bureau, the AFL-CIO, and over 250 national and local organizations, including barge operators, agriculture, energy, and civic and conservation groups. In southwestern Pennsylvania alone, over 200,000 jobs rely on the proper functioning of locks and dams on the lower Monongahela River, which is, for those who don't know, is a river on the east, or the western end of our state, that flows into the city of Pittsburgh, one of the three rivers that we describe as part of our landscape in Pittsburgh. If one of these locks were to fail, it would endanger all 200,000 jobs and have a negative impact of over $1 billion just in that region, not to mention the adverse impact beyond the region. Raising the user fee now will help prevent a catastrophe in the near future. I understand that there are objections to addressing important concerns about including a funding fix for locks and dams in this bill due to the so-called blue slip concerns that involve the House of Representatives. I will work to look for other vehicles so we don't continue to kick this can down the road, and I'll talk to members of the House to include this fix in their version. If we can't raise revenue on an industry that's asking to pay more so they can invest in their infrastructure, I'm afraid that the future of our waterway system is in great jeopardy. Many colleagues of mine in the Senate on both sides of the aisle recognize the importance of providing a way to pay for investments that we need in our locks and dams system, and I urge the House to follow suit, and I have no doubt that they want to do the same thing. We can't squander the critical foundations that have made America what it is, and reinvesting in our nation's waterways will allow us to seize economic opportunities, remain competitive in the world, and protect and create jobs for generations to come.